Hi, all of my Hobson friends. It's Pastor Tasha, and you can tell I am in the sanctuary where we meet every Wednesday for our chapel time together. This week, I thought I would talk to you about how this is the very week that is the most special and important week of the whole year for people who love Jesus. And the week can be represented by all of these things I want to show you today. The first one is this. What is this? It's a leaf. It's a specific kind of leaf. It's a palm leaf from a palm tree. And the very first date for this most special week is called Palm Sunday. It's because we remember on this day that Jesus came into the city of Jerusalem. But guess what? He was not walking. He was riding a donkey into the city of Jerusalem. You can look up pictures of a donkey if you would like. And when the people saw him riding this donkey into town, they got so excited to see him that they ripped off branches from the trees nearby and they started waving them at Jesus to welcome him into the city. And they shouted this word, Hosanna, Hosanna, which means God save us. So on Palm Sunday, we remember that day and we wave our own palms and we say, Hosanna, because we know this is the most important week and Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem. Now, this second thing I have for you, you know what it is. What is this? This is a towel. And on Thursday night, when Jesus met with his disciples and they all came in to have a special meal together, Jesus met them at the door with this towel. And he had a basin of water, and right in front of them, he did the strangest thing. He took his towel and he knelt down in front of each of them and he washed their feet. Their stinky, sandy, dusty feet. He took off their sandals for them and he washed their feet. And guess what? Several of them said, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, Jesus is washing my feet. And Peter, especially one of Jesus's best friends, he said, oh, Jesus, you're not going to wash my feet. And Jesus said, you need to let me wash your feet because I am the servant of all. And he showed all of us that night how he serves us by washing their feet. And then at the meal that they all had together, there was some bread on the table. And while they were all eating, Jesus knew this would be the last meal he would have with his friends. We call it now the Last Supper because he knew, but they didn't know, but he knew it would be the last meal they would eat together. And so he took bread from the table and he broke off some of it and he showed it to them and he said, you know what? This bread is like my body and I want to give it to each of you. And they all took some bread and they all ate it and they didn't understand. And then when they had finished their meal, he had a cup on the table, a cup of wine, and he said, you know what? This cup of wine, it's like my blood and I want to give it to all of you. And they didn't understand, but they passed that cup around and they all took some from it. And you know what? That's what's become for us what we call communion or Eucharist or the Lord's Supper or the Last Supper. It has all kinds of names. But whenever we have bread and we have juice, we are remembering that last meal when Jesus was with his followers. And you know what he told them then? He said, I want you to love one another as I have loved you. Love one another, for I have loved you. And then right after that meal, guess what happened? One of his best friends betrayed him and the cops showed up. And guess what? Jesus got arrested and they tied him up and they took him away. And his friends were so upset and they were so sad and they cried and cried and cried. And the very next day, we remember this. Remember how I showed this to you in class? We talked about how Jesus is the Messiah and a Messiah is a king. And a king wears a gold crown, and then I showed you this crown. Remember, it's a very different kind of crown. Well, it's on Friday that he wore this. Some of the policemen and some of his jailers, they made it out of spiky thorns. They twisted it together, and then they pressed it onto his head to make fun of him, to make fun of Jesus. And so we have a crown of thorns here to remember that sad day on Friday. And then they beat him up, and then they hung him on a cross. This is a cross shape, but his was made of wood. And everybody was so sad on that Friday. But you know what? You know the name for Friday on that special Friday? We call it Good Friday, which seems weird, but we call it Good Friday because guess what? This is not the last day. It starts with Sunday and the palms and goes to washing of the feet and communion and the sad day of Friday. But guess what? It's not the last day. We will celebrate the last day on the next Sunday. And I'll tell you about that next time. I miss you all so much, and I know we miss each other. So let's end with our favorite prayer where we think of 3 things we're thankful for. I'm going to think of 3 things today. Do it with me, all right? Oh, Lord, thank you. I'm thankful for this most special of weeks. Oh, Lord, thank you. I'm thankful for your families who are taking such good care of you and trying so hard at this time. Oh, Lord, thank you. What are you thankful for? I'm thankful for all the people who are helping during this time, the doctors and the nurses and the people who work at grocery stores. Why don't you think of someone you're thankful for today and talk to Mom and Dad about it? Amen. I will see you soon.